It's Tuesday, March 14th, and this is Geeknights. Tonight we talk about our favorite video game. Let's do this!
Well, if you can hear this, that means that Libsyn is yet again working adequately, I suppose.
It's quite surprising that, there's so many people in the forums at Libsyn having trouble that it would make you believe, going there, that Libsyn is super broken, but really, all the users are just super stupid.
I mean, there were a lot of problems with Libsyn recently that they've also apparently recently resolved.
Yeah, but still, the sheer numbers of people who did not know what the hell they were doing is near staggering.
Well, I think the main problem is that Libsyn really doesn't offer any documentation whatsoever. And the only support there is hidden in their forums, contributed by, I guess, their employees. I'm really not sure.
Well, they have this. Libsyn is using this business model that I learned about recently. It's known as the it's the gym membership model. What you do is you get a whole bunch of people to join and pay money, but then only a small portion of those people actually take advantage of these services that you have sold them. Like, if everyone who had a membership to, like, Gold's Gym actually showed up to work out, they'd be out of business so fast you wouldn't even know what to do. You know, the fact that only, like...
They count on the fat guy who has a New Year's resolution, gets a year membership, and then doesn't come back after March.
Yeah, it's like, as long as only 20% of the people go, they're all set. They don't have to make a bigger gym or anything. So Libsyn is doing the same thing. They're hoping all these people will pay money.
Well, at least that's what you're assuming.
Yeah, that's the only way they could be making money off of this, giving you infinite bandwidth. Come on.
Infinite bandwidth isn't really that expensive.
It's pretty expensive. What they do is they have a whole bunch of people who either, say they're going to do X podcasts but do much fewer, or they have much fewer listeners, or they have people who sign up and don't actually podcast at all or stop podcasting. And
if you stop podcasting, you stop paying almost immediately.
If you're smart enough to stop paying.
It's real hard to accidentally continue to pay because it's PayPal.
All right, but doesn't it just automatically subtract every...
Yeah, no one's going to leave Libsyn going if they don't have a podcast.
People leave MMOs going and they don't
No, people leave MMOs
them.
Going because they don't want to lose their character if they ever want to play again.
People leave Libsyn going because they don't want to lose their podcast.
I really doubt that. I don't think that that's a significant number at all of their membership.
I don't know. These people are so dumb they don't even know how to use the thing.
I didn't even know how to use it. I had to read this forum post to try to guess at how half the Libsyn crap works.
Well, okay.
Because they don't document it at all.
You click upload, you upload it.
Yeah, and they have all this other stuff. Like, I had to go in and find the crap webpage they made for us and get rid of it so no one got confused.
All right. But anyway, that's how they're making money. A few people are using it a whole lot and using a ton of bandwidth, and they're being supported by the people who aren't using so much.
Yeah, well, at least that's your assumption. We don't really know. I mean, we don't know what their books look like.
If they're not doing it that way, I can't imagine a way they are doing it, and unless there's some secret to it, they're going to be out of business.
I think very simply, not that many people listen to podcasts, so it's really not that much bandwidth all told.
No, they were using, like terabytes a day, I think they said?
Yeah, whatever. Penny Arcade gets 2 million unique hits a day.
Yeah, for an image.
Yeah.
We're talking about, like, zillions of MP3 minutes.
Yeah, I just don't think it's really that much, all things considered.
It's quite a lot. You don't seem to understand the scale.
I just don't think that many people listen to podcasts yet.
No, they really do. Do I need to play for you the podcast where they interview the Libsyn guy and ask him how it's going? It's crazy. Absolutely crazy.
All right, whatever. The point is we're on Libsyn now.
Yep.
Anyway, in the news, Sony had their DualShock patent dispute where this company called Immersion, for those of you who aren't familiar with this, basically had a patent on, now this is going to sound stupid, but rumble packs, at least in terms of console game controllers, work all the same way. They have an unbalanced weight, and you spin it to make a rumbling effect.
Well, how come they're not going after Nintendo or anyone?
I was about to get to that. This patent specifically covers having 2 of these devices in a controller, hence DualShock.
Oh, I didn't realize the DualShock had 2 rumbles. I thought it was called the DualShock because it had the 2 analog sticks and it had a rumble.
No, it had 2 rumbles that were identical.
Ah.
And Microsoft used the same thing in the Xbox, and they settled quietly out of court. Sony tried to fight it, lost, appealed, and just recently lost the appeal.
Uh-oh.
They're going to have to pay at least $82 million to the company.
Yeah, they make a lot of freaking money off of those controllers.
Now, Nintendo only has one gyro in there because they knew about the patent and they didn't want to infringe on it.
Well, you know what I gotta say?
For it.
I don't see how 2 is that much better than 1. I mean,
he's better. He's 2 more than X.
For the small effect that the rumble actually gives in a game at all, the one rumble in the GameCube controller is just fine.
I think the point was that if you have 2 rumbles, you could control them separately and have different effects.
Maybe, but I don't really feel like I'm missing out on anything.
Huh?
What we're really missing out on is force feedback. You know why there's no force feedback controllers anymore? Because there's a patent, and that company isn't licensing it or anything.
Well, also the fact that support for force feedback was varied and marginal at best.
Well, they were on the verge. They were making a standard. They had a standard, actually, for how force feedback should work. It was in DirectX and everything.
Yeah.
But then these patent-holding bastards messed up the whole thing. So now there's no force feedback joysticks or anything.
That's fine. There's no joysticks.
Yeah,
doesn't matter
there's
if
a
there's
reason
force
for
feedback.
that.
There's no PC games that need good joysticks. There's no good joysticks, so force feedback doesn't need to
there
exist.
is evidence to suggest that if force feedback had went through, they would have made... Because Microsoft was making the joysticks with force feedback. Microsoft would have made the games for it. And then,
somehow, I don't think force feedback was going to save the PC gaming industry.
It wasn't going to save the PC gaming industry, but it would have saved joysticks.
I don't think it would have, because there still wouldn't have been a market. I mean, how many people buy joysticks now?
No one, because they don't sell them.
No, they sell them. They're out there.
Not
I bought
many.
one a while ago so I could play X-Wing Alliance.
Awesome. Yeah, but anyway, they would have helped something.
Nah, I think it was too little too late.
The problem was that we...
I could sit at the bottom of the Titanic with a bucket.
See, the other problem is that all the force feedback you've ever experienced is the shitty kind, because the good kind is super patented.
Oh, I didn't say force feedback was bad. I just said that's definitely not... That wasn't going to help the PC gaming industry. And
no,
I don't care how good
it
force feedback would have been, it still would have gone away because there aren't any games.
There would have been games if there was force feedback that was so quality. People would have made games just to use that and sell it based on that gimmick alone.
Yeah.
It's like, there weren't any touchscreen games, but now there's a touchscreen, so now there's touchscreen games. Well, there weren't any force feedback joystick games, because there's no force feedback joysticks.
I point out, however, that there's a huge, huge market for Nintendo DS games.
But the market did not appear until the DS was made, just as the market for force feedback joysticks would not appear until the joysticks existed. You have to make the product first, then the market appears.
See, the problem is people were moving away from the PC gaming market already, and I don't think people were going to come back.
No, this was a long time ago.
Yeah, and you know what? PC gaming was in decline a long time ago.
No, it wasn't in decline. This was even before, all
right, whatever.
Quake 2 came out.
You're entitled to your opinion.
It's a fact. This was in the olden days when PC gaming was at its peak that the force feedback debacle occurred.
Yeah, and you know what? I didn't care about it then, and then PC gaming died, and I stopped caring.
You didn't care about it because it was a stupid dispute. Oh, my God. All right. So the whole hubbub on the net today is that Dell may or may not be buying Alienware.
I haven't heard anything about this, and if it's true, I don't care.
I saw it on
I'd play my I Don't Give a Shit song if I hadn't finished yet.
I saw it on 10 websites, like Dell buys Alienware? ?
Why does anyone even care? Alienware doesn't make good hardware. Dell makes average hardware. Alienware isn't special in any way anymore.
That's exactly the whole story.
So it's not a story.
Well, the story is that, people who buy pre-made computers and have too much money they don't know what to do with all buy these Alienware things. And all the normal people buy the Dell things. And Dell also makes this line of gamer computers. So now there's people who are like, ooh, if this really happens, then all those Dell gamer computers are going to be super cheap and we can go scoop them up.
Computers are already super cheap.
Yeah.
I mean, you can build a tricked-out computer for, $400.
No, these are like the Insano computers.
Oh, so useless.
Well, no, not useless. The fact is, what would normally be useless because it's so expensive would become cheap because Dell would just try to get rid of that line of computers to put in the new Alienware line.
Nah.
But we have no idea about if this is true or not. However, the latest evidence is that, onto the already existing pile, is that Dell has canceled some sneak preview press event at the Game Developers Conference. So, we'll see.
That's like the scantest evidence for anything
Well,
I've
it's the
ever
Game
heard.
Developers Conference and it's Dell. So, Dell makes computers. They're going to talk at a Game Developers Conference. Alienware. Yeah. Makes gaming computers,
There are very few things in this world I care less about than Alienware or Dell.
I just care.
I care a little bit about Dell because I deal with them on a regular basis. But Alienware.
See, I don't really care because it won't affect me at all because I don't care about Dell or Alienware as far as I'm concerned. But as far as tech in general is concerned, this could cause some changes.
Like what?
Like,
Yeah, I'm listening.
decrease.
Okay, so suddenly there's a flood of cheap, powerful PCs, and then that dries up because they're not making them anymore.
Well, no, not that, but the fact that Dell buys Alienware.
And
now
I can't think of any ramification that really matters at all.
all those idiots buying like expensive computers now can't buy Alienwares. They have to buy Dells. They might not want to. They might all buy Dells because they're Alienwares. Things get weird.
That doesn't sound so worrisome or weird.
Or maybe there'll be some sort of Intel AMD thing. I mean, AMD is currently winning now in terms of gamers and which is faster. I mean, in the latest Steam survey, there's more AMDs than Intels going on. So maybe, Dell doesn't really make so many AMDs as far as I know. So if they get the Alienware, maybe there'll be less AMDs and more Intels.
Eh.
Or maybe this will change something in some sort of NVIDIA ATI way. Who knows?
All right, I don't think this is going to have any effect anywhere. If it even happens.
We'll see.
All right, so my thing of the day, I found this transcript someone made of World of Warcraft had it been a text adventure.
Wait, so is it actually a text adventure you play, or...?
No. It's just a transcript of what World of Warcraft would be like if it was a text adventure.
Okay, so it's like N, and then there's a character turn, and then it says there's a monster.
Yeah, something like that.
All right.
And basically, in my opinion, this distills everything that I hate about World of Warcraft. Because it takes, this abstract game, and it compresses it down into, here's what you're actually doing. The pretty graphics aside, here's what you were doing with your life hour after hour.
Maybe people who play... See, the problem is, there are a million things like this that just plainly show what's wrong with these sorts of games, and people who play it read it and laugh and go, yeah, that's what it is, and they keep playing. If someone shows me something I'm doing is dumb, I stop doing it.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
I'm not going to get into it here, but you don't make eggs very well when you cook.
I make
In fact,
eggs
you do
the
them
way
in a
I
very
like.
dumb way.
I like the way I eat eggs.
You make McDonald's eggs.
It's not a McDonald's egg.
It's a McDonald's egg.
It's not a
You just
McDonald's
have a
egg.
solid, massive egg that you make hot, and there's just this dense mass of egg.
That's what egg is.
That's not egg.
You make it hot until it's not goopy anymore, and then you eat it. That's what you do with an egg.
All right.
Yeah, that's right.
So, what's your thing of the day, Mr. McDonald's egg?
Well, Mortal Kombat 3 is sort of a not-so-good fighting game.
I'd submit that it's one of the worst fighting games ever made.
No.
I said one of.
No,
It's definitely
no.
in the pit of worst games.
It is definitely in the mediocre fighting game area. The worst fighting game area is reserved for many games I can't even mention.
Battle Raper?
No, there are even worse ones than that. Let me think.
Can you name one?
Shaq Fu.
Shaq Fu was kind of awesome until it wasn't a fighting game. It was a platformer / walk down the street hitting things game.
Weapon Lords.
That game wasn't so bad.
No, that was the worst. All right, we'll play it later, and we'll see.
I'd rather play that than Mortal Kombat 3.
I don't know about that. Anyway, it was much worse than Mortal Kombat 2 and 1, for sure. So, of course, like every other Mortal Kombat game, they had fatalities, which were introduced in Mortal Kombat 1, and were basically this little gimmick of thing, you memorize some button pattern, and you could see a cool animation.
Yeah, it was a horrible thing. Basically, the way it worked, for any of you who've never played Mortal Kombat, modern fighting games, the combos make sense. Like in Soul Calibur, a combo is basically just doing moves in a certain order, usually, or getting into a stance. There's some sort of flow to it. In Mortal Kombat, moves were things like up, down, left, down, up, down, A, B, down, up, down, left.
No, they were simpler than that. But
everyone had a complex.
Some of the special moves are pretty complicated, but all the combos in Mortal Kombat, especially starting in Mortal Kombat 2, tended to be juggle combos.
Now, until you get to fatalities.
Yeah.
When you beat someone, like beat him.
Like you've already won the fight, it doesn't matter now. You've won, the end.
Then they'll stand there all woozy, and you have about 3 seconds to do a crazy combo, like something that's almost impossible to do with human fingers.
Well, some of them are simple. Like, I remember some of them were like down, 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 high kick.
Yeah.
Some of them were like up, down, left, right, circle, 2 buttons at once.
And you had to be a certain distance away from the guy.
And you had to be facing in the right direction.
And if you screw up at all, it didn't work.
Yep.
A lot of times, instead of doing it, you just punch the guy once and then he'd fall over and it'd be over.
Or a lot of times you just uppercut the guy, or your guy would like duck and stand up and then jump, and then it would be over. And the other guy, see, if you didn't do it quick enough, the other guy would just fall over and the fight was over. But
there was only really two bands of appeal in these. One, middle school kids want to see violence, and they were incredibly, horridly violent.
Oh yeah, that's what it was about.
Two, if you're in an arcade, it was just like the final stake of humiliation into the guy's throat after you beat him.
Mortal Kombat 2 was really towards the end of the arcade days. Like, I remember, we have an arcade in our mall where I live, and it's still there, but it doesn't get so much action now, you know? Back in the Mortal Kombat 2 days, when that machine was there were people about, like, crazy playing Mortal Kombat 2.
There was an arcade called Tilt. Actually, in the mall where I grew up, there used to be water slides in the mall.
Whoa.
And then they got rid of those water slides. I never got to use them because when I was real young, I'd always see them, and I never knew what they were. And because they were, like, in this special glassed-off area. And before I was old enough to do it, they shut it down, and they put an arcade in there instead.
No, that's not so bad.
And so I used to hang out at that arcade, you know, back when arcades were awesome.
They're still awesome, just people don't go to them.
Yeah, and most arcades end up not being awesome because they either go out of business.
Because no one goes to them.
Yeah.
Because they don't have good games, or they don't have good games because no one goes. Oh my god.
Yeah, it's almost impossible to have a good arcade unless you're in Wildwood.
Go to
New Jersey.
Japan. Go to Japan.
Yeah. In the U.S., you can't.
Mortal
have a good
Kombat.
arcade.
All I got to say about Japan's arcades: Mario Kart arcade.
Nah.
That's all I got to say.
So I remember when Mortal Kombat 2, like the machine, came out, and they got two of them in that arcade. There was a crowd of people so thick you could not even see the machine from the moment that mall opened until the moment it closed every day.
Yeah, I remember when a few months after that, every movie theater had a machine, and there were at least two guys playing it all the time, and everywhere it was the greatest. Well, not the greatest, but anyway. Mortal Kombat 3 was not quite so popular, because it was after these days.
Yeah, Mortal Kombat 1, 2, and 3 are basically the same game, just with more characters and moves.
And different characters and moves.
Yeah, but other games progressed in technology, and Mortal Kombat did not.
Mortal Kombat just like in Mortal Kombat 1, you had fatalities. Mortal Kombat 2 was like the perfection of Mortal Kombat 1. In 3, they added like babalities and animalities and friendships and all these gimmick crap, crazy nonsense. And you'll see in my thing of the day, which we finally are getting to now, is a video of every single fatality, babality, animality, and friendship in Mortal Kombat 3.
So if you think Jack Thompson, you know, I mean, he hates Grand Theft Auto because of all the violence and gore and whatever. I don't think the people who crusade against video games these days remember the shitstorm that arose around Mortal Kombat when we were young.
No, man, that was the first thing they went after. It's just they gave up on it when other games, you know, became easier targets.
But I watched this again, and I forgot that Mortal Kombat is still one of the most violent games I've ever played.
Yeah, it's just, you know, at least in Gran Turismo, the gore makes sense. It's like somewhat realistic. Like you shoot a guy, he dies.
This is like you punch a guy, you knock his head off, then you grab his spinal cord and rip it out and whip it around.
Or, you know, you chop a guy up into 10 pieces and then blood blows everywhere and then his skeleton comes out and there's a million gibs falling from the sky.
Unless you had the SNES version of Mortal Kombat 1, then it was sweat and green slime because they weren't allowed to show blood.
Yep. But the Genesis, oh yeah, it was working just fine.
Blood code.
Of course, if you had either one of those systems, you're probably better off playing Street Fighter 2.
Yeah.
Either Turbo for the SNES or Championship Edition for the Genesis, which were pretty much equal games.
All right, so it's Favorites Week, and it's Tuesday, which means we could talk about either video games or board games.
We're going to do video games this time, and board games will be saved for Favorites Week 2.
Yep, which will come whenever we run out of things to talk about another week.
Yep. And now for our disclaimer, which we're going to say at the beginning of every Favorites Week episode, because, you know, some people only listen to some days of the podcast.
Yes, and if you don't know, we have more than one day every week.
Yep. Is that favorites is not the same thing as best. The best thing ever is something that everyone can agree on, or that, you know, experts can say, oh, that is definitely the best video game ever made. But
it's also very...
It's okay to say something's the best and also hate it.
Yeah, it's also very up to interpretation and argument. I mean, Babe Ruth is the best baseball player ever. No, Hank Aaron's the best baseball player ever. You can go to hell.
Yeah, I could argue that Babe Ruth is the best baseball player ever, but at the same time, not like Babe Ruth or be a fan of him at all.
Yep. So we're very much talking about our favorite things ever, which means, one, you can debate us, but you can't argue with us because it's our opinion.
Yeah, you could be like, the thing you think is the favorite sucks, and I'll say, okay, that means it's not the best. It doesn't mean it's not my favorite, because when I say it's my favorite, it is.
Yep.
Unless I'm lying.
I don't think we're going to lie about this.
No, I don't think. Why would I lie? Especially when I'm talking. If anyone who knows me will know I'm not lying when I say that the best video game. Well, not the best video game. The best video game is probably Zelda 1 or something. I don't even know. My favorite video game ever is Mega Man 2.
This kid freaking loves Mega Man 2 in a way that is unhealthy.
I played Mega Man 2 for the NES like 1,000 times. I don't even know.
He is as much a machine at that game as I am at Bionic Commando.
Oh, Bionic Commando. But
yeah.
I got Mega Man 2. I got my NES the day before my birthday, like April 29th some year. I don't even know. And I got Mario Duck Hunt when I got it. The next morning, they were like, okay, here's your birthday present. It was Mega Man 2. Mega Man 2, oh my god. Like, nowadays, Mega Man, like I'm playing the Mega Man X collection right now, which I'll talk about soon enough.
Yeah, I have my opinions on most Mega Man games.
Yeah, but now it's all about figuring out, it's all about knowing what order to beat the guys in, knowing where the secret power-ups are.
The horrible and arbitrary secrets.
Well, they're not arbitrary secrets, you just don't understand, but... Arbitrary secrets are like Final Fantasy Crystal Chronicles. That's an arbitrary secret. Or
Yeah.
Ogre Battle 64. That's an arbitrary
God,
secret.
don't get me started on that game.
All right, but Mega Man 2, I played that without anyone's help, just all on my own. I beat it from start to every single guy. Like, when I first started playing, I had no skills whatsoever, and I was just trying to beat all 8 Robot Masters. Imagine trying to beat 8 Robot Masters, not knowing anything. It's like you try all the different levels, you die in Quick Command's level because of the lasers, so you just give up on him and wait until you have more powers.
Yep, even though, honestly, I always tried to beat him first when I first got that game.
Yeah, and then like with Flashman, Flashman was the first guy I could beat. So I'd always beat Flashman and then try to beat everyone else. Or I'd write down my Flashman password and then try to beat everyone else. But then I realized I wanted to beat Crashman before Flashman so I could break all the blocks in his level to get the E and stuff.
Yep.
Or what I didn't think you needed to break the blocks to get the E. I think you just get the E without them. But you still wanted to break the blocks to make the level go easier. But yeah, wow. That game is so terrific. I mean, Mega Man 1, Mega Man 2 doesn't really have much on Mega Man 1 in terms of gameplay. It's just the level design and the bad guys and everything was just more polished. And Mega Man 1 was also stupid hard and really rough around the edges. And especially like in the later levels, like guys would fly around in patterns that kind of didn't make sense. And,
I never beat Mega Man 1, ever.
I beat Mega Man 1, but Mega Man 1 is just kind of like really bland.
In fact, I never beat Gutsman, ever.
Wow. Okay. I've gotten to the wily parts of Mega Man 1.
Yeah.
Definitely, because that's where you fight the yellow guy who you got the one eyeball.
Yeah, I know him. I know what he looks like anyway.
Yeah, that's Mega Man 1.
See, the first Mega Man game I played was Mega Man 3.
Mega Man 3, a lot of people say that Mega Man 3 is better than Mega Man 2. And, that's where the slide first appeared. And that's where Proto Man appeared. I can't deny some of these things like Proto Man and the slide.
Or the famous hold left on controller 2.
Yeah. But parts of Mega Man 3 also, just not... It was just different. It's a whole different feeling. I mean, you had, like, Gemini Man. It's really the bad guys, the 8 Robot Masters. That's why when you go buy a Mega Man shirt that says, I defeated the 8 Robot Masters, what 8 Robot Masters do you see on that shirt? The Mega Man 2 Robot Masters. There's a reason for that. It was all about the Robot Masters and their levels that were so perfect and the music that was so perfect. That music would be, like, it's still... better any video game music you'll ever find, the Mega Man 2 music. Oh my god. Especially the first Wily level. They had the best music, like, ever. There are like 1,000 remixes of it. It's so good.
Now, see, if we're talking that era of games, the prime of the original NES, it's really a toss-up for me between Zelda 2 and Bionic Commando. But I'm going to have to go with Bionic Commando. That game is just fantastic.
Yeah, people yell at you if you say Zelda 2 is good.
Hey, I think Zelda 2 is better than Zelda 1, and you can all go to hell.
Yeah, you got a problem.
But anyway, Bionic Commando, for any of you who haven't played it, there's platformers, and platformer was basically the primary genre of the original NES.
Yeah, because Super Mario Brothers, and then everyone tried to make a game that was kind of like that.
Now, Bionic Commando was a platformer, except you couldn't jump. There was no jumping in this game.
No jumping.
Instead, you had a grappling hook. And this was an entirely new mode of play that created awesome. Awesome, awesome, awesome. I cannot express to you how much I love that game.
Yeah, the variety of moves and different, platform situations that can occur in Bionic Commando is really crazy. And, you always have to figure out exactly the right way to use it to avoid getting hit and make it over the hole and...
if you've seen someone playing the game versus watching, say, me play the game or someone else who's good, normally the game, you're very careful. You try not to get hit. You die all the time. Watching someone who's good at that game play that game is like watching a ballerina. You're flipping yourself through the air, catching things you didn't even know you could catch, flying around all over the place, dodging bullets by the skin of your teeth.
Yeah, Mega Man 2 is really a game where, if you suck, which I did back in those ancient times, you gradually improve your skills and it hones you into being a master, until which you cannot play Mega Man 2 better in any way.
The learning curve on Bionic Commando is a brick wall.
Yeah, Bionic Commando is like this brick wall, but once you mount the brick wall, it's like this amazingness of crazy. The limit is so high to what you can do.
It took me, I think, 3 or 4 months from when I first got the game until I could get past the first half of the game. Because the game culminates in level 6. Level 6 is this is the trial by fire. If you can beat this, we'll let you play the rest of the game. And let me tell you, the first day I beat level 6, I ran around my house screaming. I couldn't believe it. And then I learned that the rest of the game was twice as hard as level 6.
Wow.
Of course, Bionic Commando is also the game where at the end you kill a naked Hitler.
Yep.
Hitler appears and he's naked and he says the word damn, which, and then you kill him.
Yeah, Mega Man 2, I beat it downstairs in my living room with my brother watching, and we were like, oh. I think it took me 2 tries once I finally got to the alien guy at the end.
Man, remember those days when you got close to beating a game, you'd call your friend or your brother, and they'd come and watch to kind of verify your victory?
The first time I beat Zelda 1, I did it using, I think, only the silver arrow in front of a bunch of friends and my brother in my room. That was a crazy day. I remember it, actually, very clearly. It's crazy.
Yeah, I remember the first time I beat Final Fantasy 1. I screamed, and my brother runs into the room, and all the text is flying by, and we sat there just staring at the screen like, wow, it's over.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Zelda 1, I would if you would have asked me 10 years ago, Zelda 1 would have been my favorite game. The problem with Zelda 1 is that when you're a little kid and you have that, wonder and whatnot, and
you'll burn every bush.
You've never played Zelda 1 before, and you don't know everything already. It's so fantastic, the exploring and the figuring things out and the going from level to level, and you can go to levels in any order and collecting different items and using them on different things.
I don't have time for that shit anymore.
Yeah, it was so great, but nowadays it's not so great anymore. I can beat Zelda 1 in 40 minutes. So it's kind of now it's just...
Yeah, and there are games that are as good and are very similar, but I just don't have the time to sit there and burn every bush.
Yeah, I mean, the first time I beat Zelda 1, when I finally got to level 9, I was, scared shitless with that music, and I didn't know where to go, and it was oh...
Yep.
But nowadays it's do, let's go begin, and there he is, do, he's dead, I got the princess, do.
It's weird, I remember as a little kid, I would actually get scared in dangerous parts of games
I was
like
super
that.
scared in Zelda 1, holy shit.
Simon's Quest, when I got to because at the end of Simon's Quest, which Simon's Quest is right up there in my opinion, that's my favorite Castlevania game ever.
Yeah, I like Castlevania 1 the most, but I'm not really the hugest Castlevania fan, so...
Yeah, I just really like Simon's Quest. That game scared the hell out of me when I was a kid. Mainly because the game's poorly translated, right? And you'll find these cryptic things around. You'll find a bunch of people just hung to death in the background. And then you'll find, a cryptic, poorly translated text that, as a little kid, it just kind of scares you. But at the end of the game, you walk into Dracula's castle, right? But Dracula's already dead. So the music changes. It's the scary music. And it's this long, long castle. And you have to walk all the way through it and up and down ladders and stairs and whatever. There's no monsters. There's no nothing. There's nothing in the castle, but you have to walk through it. And I was scared shitless that something was going to jump out at me.
Yeah. If you want to talk about the scariest games, Legacy of the Wizard might be the scariest. But that was just me. It was just so strange and sort of eerie, and the way the game was and the music combined. It's like you're a little tiny guy, and the game's all sort of cute and happy. But you're going down and down and down to this dark, scary, crazy dungeon.
And it gets scarier and darker the more down you go.
And it's like you're going all over to these weird places, and only certain people can go, oh, God, play the game sometime.
Yeah, I don't like it that much just because I don't have patience for games like that, but it's a good game. I respect it.
I just wish that, like, some of these games are experienced different based on your state of mind and level of skill. And, like, nowadays, with the person I am, the game isn't as good as if I was the person I was, Yeah,
well, our brains are different. We've experienced more. I mean, Vampire Hunter D was a goddamn masterpiece when I was in 4th grade. Now it's just a mediocre guy killing things bloodily.
It's like when you're a 20th level fighter, a kobold is nothing. But when you're a 1st level fighter, a kobold is great. Sometimes I'm like a 20th level fighter.
You know what we are?
Wishing I was a 1st level fighter so I could experience the joy of killing kobolds.
We're Lena Inverse and we already killed Shabranigdo.
Yeah. Yeah, we're watching Slayers.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's see.
All right, Friday the 13th used to scare the hell out of me when I was a kid.
Yeah?
The game.
Oh.
No, not the movies, the game.
No, none of that really didn't get me either. All right, let's talk about some PC games.
All right, I'd have to say my favorite PC game ever, would have to be Quake 2.
Not TIE Fighter?
All right, best single-player game ever, hands down, TIE Fighter.
Mm-hmm.
Best multiplayer game ever, hands down, Quake 2 and all the associated mods.
Mm-hmm.
So let's start with single-player first, since we've been talking mostly about single-player, old-school type games.
Oh, single-player is tough. It might be MechWarrior 2.
Ooh.
It might be
Civilization
Half-Life
2.
1 or Half-Life 2.
Oh, Half-Life 1.
Might be Civilization 2. Ooh, it's a tough call, especially if you're going to keep it to only PC.
I have to go with TIE Fighter. That game destroyed my life.
I didn't play TIE Fighter that much. That's why, it didn't.
I played it all the way through, beat it, and then went all the way through again, like, destroying everything. Like, I flew around destroying entire, like, fleets with my one TIE Fighter. I got that good in that board.
If I had to think of which ones, like, had the most effect on me, especially back in the day, it's going to be MechWarrior 2. I mean, damn, you had these missions, and there was a story that you keep track of, and you customize the mechs, and the missions are complex, and it was a complex simulation of a giant robot, and you're shooting guys, and it's better than any other mech game that's ever been around.
Well, TIE Fighter is probably the best free space fighting game ever.
Yeah.
I mean, basically...
Well, Descent 2 is also really good. But
it is really good, but it didn't have the Star Wars theme, and
No, it
TIE
didn't.
Fighter was just so clean. I mean, the basic history here is that X-Wing came out, and it was an amazing game. It was fairly revolutionary. It was very well done. It was hard as hell, and it had a lot of rough edges. So, fast forward a few years, and they made TIE Fighter, which is basically the same game, only now you're on the bad guy's side, and they polished it a bit. And by a bit, I mean, there was a time when PC Gamer, the ratings that they gave to games mattered. Like, they were fairly objective, and if they said a game was good, it was good. They gave TIE Fighter the highest rating they had ever given a game. And then a few years later, a game beat TIE Fighter. You know what game beat TIE Fighter? TIE Fighter. On a CD. It was the same game, just re-released. And it got...
I remember that.
TIE Fighter was just so well done, because on one hand, you're a TIE Fighter pilot, and you gotta, fight the rebels. And the fighting was really good, the missions were really good, you had primary and secondary objectives, and you only had to do the primary objectives to continue. The secondary ones were just for fun, or to prove how badass you were, or to unlock the story. There were also these secret missions, where you could basically become a spy for the Emperor, and do crazy stuff. In the game, you'd get tattoos if you were good, and the Emperor would give you powers. I love that game.
Yeah. If I had to pick a single-player FPS to say that was, like, ever, it's really tough, because Half-Life 1 was, like, such a great freaking game.
Yeah.
But Half-Life 2 single-player, I can't deny that it was better. I mean, it's just... I hate naming recent games because I like to be old school, but Half-Life 2 has to be it.
Yeah, I haven't played it yet, so I can't say.
Oh my god!
And I can't pretend that Quake 2 is a good FPS single player wise because it's not.
Half-Life 2 had all the feelings of Half-Life 1 are like you're in danger, you're short on resources, you're running around. The story is combined with the action solidly, and you feel you. In most FPSs, like in Wolfenstein, I don't feel like I'm the Nazi prisoner trying to escape. I feel like just a crazy guy trying to kill all Nazis. In Doom, I don't feel like I'm the Doom guy stuck on Mars. I feel like I'm just going to kill all his demons. When Half-Life, you feel like you're Gordon Freeman,
Yeah, I mean, I poo-pooed it because I didn't play the game until much later, like well after it had come out. In fact, I only bought it because I wanted to play Counter-Strike.
We'll talk about Counter-Strike in a minute.
Yeah, but as I played through Half-Life 1 as a cynical, like, yeah, whatever, this game, blah. And after about the first hour of playing it, and I've progressed through the game for a while, I was Gordon Freeman, and I was scared shitless that the military was going to come and kill me.
Yeah. Half-Life 2 is just that and more. Like, parts of the game aren't as good as other parts, but yeah, just wow. Holy shit. If you haven't played Half-Life 2, the single player, damn.
Now, if we're talking multiplayer, honestly, I love Natural Selection, and I love Counter-Strike, and we're not going to talk about Tribes 2. We'll do a whole show on
I was
going to
talk about Tribes 2.
Tribes 2 is the best game ever.
Holy shit, you just can't play. It just doesn't exist anymore. That's the problem.
Yeah, Winders ruined it.
It's like you can still play Mega Man 2. You can still play Half-Life 2. You can't play Tribes 2.
Actually, there are some servers out there.
Yeah, but it's not the same as it was.
No, it's not. I'd like to do a whole show on Tribes 2.
I got Tribes 2 the day it came out. Rim ordered it for me online. It was in college. We had 2 copies. I played it online. And the first day that game came out, and all those people were playing on a server with like 50 people with my wicked low ping, that was like the greatest FPS team action ever.
We walked around the campus for the next week going,
pretending we had jetpacks like Tribes 2.
All our friends thought we were idiots, and then they all bought the game.
God, Tribes 2 is just so freaking terrific as a multiplayer game.
We would come home from class and just start playing. Like, I'd come home and start playing. Scout would come home from class and start playing. I'd look up at the clock and turn the game off and go to class. Then I'd come back and start playing again, and he'd still be playing.
Yep. The thing is, you can't play Tribes 2 anymore. I mean, it's free now if you want to try it, but it's just not the same as it was. There aren't enough people. They don't play the same way they used to play. It's just not the same.
Now, I've got a crazy idea.
I would pay a lot of money to bring Tribes 2 back, or get another game going that was like just basically Tribes 2.
All right, so all of you out there who listen to Geeknights, if you either, 1, liked Tribes 2, or 2, might think you might like Tribes 2, check it out. And if enough of you want us to, we'll put up some sort of server somewhere.
Where? Where are we going to put up a server?
I don't know. I'll get another hosting.
All right, it's all you.
We'll do something, because if enough of you want to play, and we could play Tribes 2. Old school, all the way, with the original rule set.
Mm-hmm. That'd be fun, but I don't think it would be easy to get going.
No, I don't think it would either. That's why I'm asking.
I'll tell you what, go to the forum and we'll start a Tribes 2 thread.
Yeah. So we're not going to... Tribes 2 is not in the consideration because it was the best game ever, but they ruined it.
It's no longer playable. The game that was the best game ever does not exist.
Now, like I said, I like that and Counter-Strike and Natural Selection, but honestly, I spent more time in my life playing Quake 2 and all of its mods than I've played any other FPS ever.
Wow.
I mean, I played Quake 2 pretty much from the day it came out online, and then Lithium Deathmatch, and then Weapons Factory, Action Quake, Weapons of Destruction, Action Quake version 2, Weapons Factory version 2. In fact, I contend that Weapons Factory was better than any incarnation of Team Fortress ever.
Well, Team Fortress is sort of this on and off sort of thing.
Yeah, I have so many good memories of playing that game.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. See, when I first actually was able to play FPSs online for real was when I got to college, because before then I had a little dial-up, so I couldn't really play online so well.
Yeah, so you kind of missed a whole era there.
Yeah, but I played Team Fortress Classic on the Half-Life engine, and that was really not so great. I mean, it was better than anything I'd previously played, but it wasn't so great, except for the Hunted. The Hunted was terrific. The Hunted, if you don't know, is basically Counter-Strike Assault with the VIP, trying to get to a checkpoint and then they win, but if the VIP dies, they lose. Then some guys were talking about Counter-Strike, and they said, oh, if you die, you're out. And I'm like, oh, that sucks. I don't want to play something like that. But then I realized, oh, you're out for the round, and there's an objective, and it's quick, and I got it. Then I played Counter-Strike probably more than I played any other multiplayer FPS ever.
Yeah, we got really into Counter-Strike, starting right around Beta 5, I believe.
Yeah, the thing is, Counter-Strike, like any other multiplayer FPS, or really any other multiplayer round-based game, you can have good rounds and bad rounds, you know? It could be painful to play, Or it could be like the best time you've had playing Counter-Strike ever.
We've had some crazy times.
Crazy times. You know, when crazy stuff happenings or when your team just clicks and, yeah, it feels really good.
Yeah, like say you're the defenders and you're trying to defend the bomb site and you get owned like 20 times in a row. They run in and they destroy you. And then that one time, somehow, your team just goes nuts and kills the entire enemy team without taking a loss, and the whole server's going, WTF, WTF, Haxor!
Woo!
That's gold. That's orgasmic.
I think the voice chat actually hurt Counter-Strike a little bit, you know?
Yeah, it helped and hurt. I mean, I think it made the game different.
And a lot of the changes to the engine and stuff changed things.
Well, the game was often broken. I mean,
it was often broken, but sometimes when it was broken, it was more fun.
Yeah, except when they first introduced the P90.
Yeah, and
it was
also,
basically a death machine.
I remember a time when there was no cheating, like way early on.
Yeah, all you kids out there, yeah, people used to not cheat.
When you played Counter-Strike Beta 7, there was no cheating. They just didn't. No one cheated. They were just. People were good, and everyone got about, pretty good scores. That was the times.
Yeah, well, see, Scott, I'll just point out, that there's an entire era of FPS gaming way before that when I was in high school.
Oh, yeah.
Because the thing is, I was really lucky. I can't pretend that this was because I was awesome. It was just luck of where I happened to live. But basically, I had broadband since I was a freshman in high school. Like, we got some of the first broadband connections in the state of Michigan. So basically, me and my friend, we got cable modems because we begged our parents. It was like $50 a month. And I got pings of like 20. I mean, no one knew what to make of it. I connect to a server and I have a ping of like, 20, 25. And most people had dial-up and pings of like 300 or 400. And back then, high ping meant death because ping was not dealt with at all. You just lagged that far behind in the game. But I played Quake 2 Weapons Factory like religiously, and once again, no one cheated. Like the idea of cheating back then was just unheard of. The thing is, it was difficult to play FPSs back then. Like you play I don't know, Quake 3 or whatever, Doom 3, and you can just bind keys to whatever. Back then, you couldn't do anything. You had to write scripts to take care of your key bindings at all times, like complex, difficult to manage scripts to make the game work.
Yeah. Scripts that you really weren't supposed to have to write ever.
Yeah, I'm not saying that was good. I'm just saying that's the way it was.
Yeah, it is definitely the way it was.
I had a keyboard that I used all the way through RIT till it finally died that had all this marker writing over it as to what was bound to what key for different classes, and I had scripts to go along with that keyboard.
Mm-hmm. See, now, I'm also going to mention Natural Selection. Natural Selection is a Half-Life 1 mod where it's kind of like an RTS, Alien vs. Predator, also FPS.
Yeah, imagine an RTS where one guy's the commander and he's doling out troops and whatever, but all the troops are guys playing an FPS.
Yeah. The thing about Natural Selection is that if you gave me a choice between a really good game of Natural Selection and a really good game of Counter-Strike, the game of Natural Selection would probably be more fun and more awesome.
Mostly because of the community around it.
The problem with, and because of the game itself, I think is just inherently better.
I think the community's what really did it for me.
Yeah. But the thing about Natural Selection is it's so much harder to get a good game of Natural Selection than it is to get a game of Counter-Strike. And not just because there are fewer players, because it requires so much more effort and coordination and like
skill. Yeah, one asshole can ruin it.
One asshole can ruin it. In Counter-Strike, one asshole just dies every round, Or he team kills and then he dies the next round.
Yeah, that's one thing Counter-Strike never had was that deeply rooted sense of community, which may sound silly for a video game, but I swear to you it was there. I mean, Natural Selection, it was a small group, so you'd see the same people over and over, and you'd start to learn who was who, and you'd see a guy, and you'd know, that guy always plays Bender waves whenever he does well. Everyone just called him Bender. Or, that guy sucks. And you'd know the guy and you're friends with him, but you just know he sucked from his name. And in the old days, it was the same way. Everyone kind of knew each other, and everyone was kind of cool with each other, and they talked outside of the game, and you knew who was who. You don't really have that in Counter-Strike. You just play with random schmucks constantly.
Yeah, it's like sometimes I feel like I should go get one of these newfangled FPSs like the Battlefield or something like that and, get some people together with like a clan of non-schmucks and really try to turn it into what it was in the old days. But it's so much effort and it's not the same and I'd have to buy a better computer and it's just, I don't know, it's just so much trying just to get something that came easily before. I'd feel bad doing that.
Yeah, I mean, Natural Selection, I remember one of the defining moments for us was a game ended, and I forget who had won, but we're back in the team room, which is the start room, where basically everyone gets together, and then you pick what team you want to be on or whatever. And everyone's standing there waiting for the next round to start. And everyone just started dancing and raving and playing music into the microphone and flashing their flashlights. And then in this room, don't ask me why, there was a table. And on the table was a piece of cheese.
I was going to talk about the cheese.
All right, fine, you can talk about the cheese.
So there's a piece of cheese on the table, and some guy says, let's pile on the cheese. He gets on top of the cheese. A guy gets on top of him. A guy gets on top of him. And everyone's jumping up and down on top of the cheese in a giant pyramid of people.
Meanwhile,
and aliens.
One guy goes into the game to try to start, and he comes back out, and he's like, and he sees the pile. He's like, "What WTF are you guys doing? Don't you want to play the game?" And we're like, "Forget you, cheese."
Cheese.
What kind of game can you have where everyone is more interested in hanging out with each other and piling up on cheese than they are in actually playing the game?
One time I joined an NS server, and there was one alien, and he was playing techno music and dancing around the ready room. And he was all alone. Everyone else was playing. So I went into the game for a minute, and the game was kind of bleh. So I went back to the ready room and started to dance around.
And bit by bit, more people started going to the ready room.
As people started leaving the game or the game ended, people came to the ready room and started to techno with us. And then after we done technoing, we started a real game that was actually good.
Now, we don't really have a category for this. I mean, it's in the Bimani category, but Dance Dance Revolution has affected us in profound ways.
Yeah, I should get back into that.
Yeah. I mean, basically, we had never heard of DDR. We had no idea about it. And we get to RIT, and this guy has this dance mat, and he's dancing, and there's arrows on the screen.
And that looked like the dumbest thing in the world to me.
Yeah, we both said, this is the dumbest thing ever.
It's like some little kid's game or some shit. I'm not doing this.
So then Scott goes off to play Dungeons & Dragons with all these people, but I had nothing to do. I wasn't in that game. So I started trying to play this dancing game. I had nothing better to do. 4 hours later, they get out of their D&D game, and I'm still dancing. And Scott says something to the effect of, "What the hell? That game looked stupid." And I just looked at him and said, "Try it and see what you say."
And I try anything once to make sure.
And sure enough, not too long after, I got a PS1, modded it, got the import games, we bought dance mats, we duct taped them permanently to the floor in our apartment, and we played DDR every day.
Yeah, the thing is, DDR isn't what it used to be. Just like, it seems like everything that's our favorite isn't what it used to be. You notice that?
You know what that means? It either means the world is changing, or we're crotchety old men now.
I think we're just crotchety.
Yeah, I think we are. Because we used to be punk kids, but now
it's
we
just
yell
the
at
way
the punk
we
kids.
experienced these things when they were new and awesome, or, in our younger days, was the way they should be experienced and for the most awesome. And the way we experience them now isn't the same as the way we experienced them then, so we don't like them as much now as we did then.
Well, consider this. DDR, we played it for years, where we had dance mats in our apartment, and other than other people's apartments, that was the only time we could ever play it. And no one really was good at it because no one had it. Then, one day, an arcade machine appeared near us. Like, we'd always wanted an arcade machine. We'd never even, once I'd seen an arcade machine at Cedar Point when I went back home to go on vacation with my family. And one day, our friend Scott Johnson calls us. He says, "I heard there's a DDR machine at blah, blah, blah." And I just hung up because we were on our way to that place immediately. And our whole group of friends congregated at this arcade, and like a shining altar in the middle of the room is a Dance Dance Revolution 4th mix machine.
4th mix was where it was at.
We about cried. I bought like $50 worth of tokens, and I used them all.
That was the summer of dancing.
Yep, that was the summer of dancing and the summer of Puerto Rico.
Yep, all we did that summer was Dance Dance Revolution in Puerto Rico, the board game.
Yep, that was a good summer.
Yeah, I mean,
it
just this community and happiness and fun around that one machine was just so fantastic.
Yep, everyone knew everyone who played on the machine. Everyone was real polite to each other. No one was a jerk. Everyone was about the same level of skill.
Yeah, there weren't any, Asians.
Get an
not
epic
to be
car, you
racist
nub.
or anything.
Get an epic car, you nub.
Exactly. There were none of those guys doing, the crazy hard stuff, "Ooh, look at me, I'm so much better," and no smelly people. And
No, there were smelly people. I think that's definitely a rose-tinted glass right there.
It might be.
I remember some smelly people.
All right.
And there were the people who were really good, but they weren't jerks about it.
Yeah.
Because eventually...
Not like the one time we tried to play in New York and they were jerks about it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Though the thing is, there was a point at which we got really good. But that was after, a year of playing every day.
And now we're not so good anymore.
No, I remember this one time we were playing in our apartment. And we always played in our boxers or shorts just because, you get hot playing DDR. And it was summer. and these drunks are standing outside.
That happened like 4 or 5 times.
Yeah, and they see us in there, and they couldn't figure out what we were doing. And they'd start gathering a crowd, and they'd start yelling or cheering. One guy mooned us.
Awesome.
Yeah. One time, these drunk sorority girls wandered in and wanted to play with us.
I don't know why we didn't take advantage of them.
Yeah, because we were more interested in playing DDR at the time.
Yeah, playing DDR.
I don't know, there's something about a drunk sorority girl who comes into your apartment randomly and starts hitting on you that really kind of turns you off a little.
Especially when they're not so hot.
More that they were so drunk it was not good.
Yeah.
But they were really into DDR.
I guess. Oh well.
Yeah. Now DDR machines were so rare, and then suddenly there was an explosion, and there were DDR machines everywhere. And then that next summer, we went to Wildwood, New Jersey with Scott Johnson, our good friend, and all of our other friends, and there were like 10 DDR machines on the boardwalk.
Yeah, but you didn't have the community around those DDR machines.
No, but what you did have were slack-jawed tourists who had never seen anything like that before, and no one knew how to dance on it except us.
And they go, ooh and ah.
Yeah, that's a good feeling. It's a silly feeling, but it's a good feeling.
Yeah, but now it doesn't work anymore.
Now every machine there is an 8th mix machine, and it's all these epic Kaya nub kids playing DDR.
Yep. Why does everything have to go away that's good?
Why do we have to get old and crotchety?
I don't know.
I mean, if we were young punk kids, we'd probably be talking up whatever the new great thing is.
Yep.
The new great thing is In the Groove, too.
Yep.
I consider it the spiritual successor to Dance Dance Revolution.
Because DDR is basically dead as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah, well, mostly because we can't find a 4th mix machine anywhere anymore.
You mean a 4th Mix Plus machine?
Yeah, so it has the K-pop songs.
There was a 4th Mix... Well, no, the 4th Mix has the K-pop songs. 4th Mix Plus has the extra mix type songs and such.
Of course, I have a special place in my heart for Dance Dance Revolution 3rd Mix Korean.
Yeah.
Because mainly there was a machine on the boardwalk. It was a quarter for 5 songs. All right, once again, we could talk about this topic forever, and we're going to stop now.
Yeah, I mean, I could talk about, favorite RPG-type games.
Yeah, we could talk about, specifically our favorite game in every genre for every console or era of PC gaming ever.
I mean, I didn't even mention a single space shooting game at all.
Yeah, Scott's real big into the shmups.
Galaga.
There
Galaga.
you go. I was never good at those games, though. I liked R-Type the most.
Yeah, Galaga. Okay, so, now that we've said Galaga 3 times.
Yeah, it'll summon Galaga, and then we'll play it.
Awesome. 1 million bugs will invade the Earth, and a tiny, tiny ship will fight them off.
But stay tuned on some other week where we're going to cover, our favorite board games, our favorite other kinds of games.
In Favorite Week 2.0 sometime.
And that was Geeknights with Rim and Scott. Special thanks to DJ Pretzel for our opening theme.
Be sure to visit our website at www.frontrowcrew.com. If you like our podcasts, you'll love our forums. Make sure you visit them. You can send your email feedback to geeknights@gmail.com. And if you want, you can leave us a voicemail at 206-333-1537.
Geeknights airs every weeknight, Monday through Thursday.
Geeknights is recorded with absolutely no studio and no audience. But unlike those other talk shows, it's actually recorded at night.